the Amiibo Headquarter Guy here, and I swear, Xander Mobus can make even the most mundane things sound epic. Like the fact that on the gamepad, there's a microphone! But real talk now. Let's talk about my thoughts on Nintendo's answer to Skylanders that they have decided to call Amiibo. Well, so far the first few waves have been revealed, and obviously, Nintendo is obviously trying to make the Amiibos their own platform, so to speak. The whole figure player thing in Smash Brothers is probably going to be their, well, it has been shown to be their initial primary use, but we've seen some pretty interesting things that they're planning on doing with it in the future, with games that are already out and that are coming out. For instance, giving Link a new weapon in Hyrule Warriors, that sounds pretty cool. Especially when you consider it's one of the most fun items in the Zelda series, that being the spinner from Twilight Princess. It's really a shame it didn't get much use outside of that one dungeon. But yeah, I gotta admit, the Stalwart fight was pretty awesome back then. For Mario Kart 8, it's unlocking special costumes for the Amiibos. I mean, for the Miis, sorry. But let's be honest, the only one that's going to be used for that one is Captain Falcon's Amiibo. Mainly because Mute City is one of the tracks in the Mario Kart 8 DLC. Speaking of which, Mario Kart 8 Online mode, from what I hear right now, is the Mario Kart equivalent of TV tropes, because of so many links. And you facepalm! I bet you've been waiting to hear that for a long time from my mouth for a while. Other games that I hear that are apparently planning to use the Amiibos are Captain Toad Treasure Tracker and Yoshi's Woolly World, which is coming out next year. Not sure how they're going to do that. However, I do hear that some of the Amiibos are going to be retailer exclusive. One in particular, the Shulk Amiibo, is a GameStop exclusive. I think... You must think you're really clever, huh? Considering Xenoblade Chronicles was a GameStop exclusive Nintendo? But really, everyone deserves a little Shulk time. Also, one thing I find strange, from what I hear, each Amiibo is only going to be able to store data from one game at a time. That's weird. I mean, even Skylanders figures could have their data transferred from one game to another. And some people might be turned off by this whole thing from the Amiibos. Hopefully, future Amiibos will, or hopefully Nintendo will develop the technology to override this thing and have the Amiibos be able to store data from multiple games. But as a whole, it remains to be seen whether the Amiibos can be a viable business solution for Nintendo. Well, considering Smash is coming out next week, Wii U sales are probably going to spike big time. Anyways, let's get to some user questions. Oh, by the way, editing in progress for Top 10 Monster Hunter 3 Ultimate Boss Monsters. That should be out soon. Look forward to it. First question comes from Isaac Kiko, who asks, have you ever heard of and or played Five Nights at Freddy's for the PC? Yes, I have. No plans on playing it. Mainly because, for one thing, I'm not that big a fan of horror games, especially ones that rely on jump scares. It's like, you know it's good. You know those jump scares are going to happen. The question is when. It's like, eventually it becomes, you know, not scary. Especially the kind of Five Nights at Freddy's. It's like, I think the biggest scare comes from the anticipation and not the actual jump scare. That's the problem with a lot of horror games nowadays. I think the most effective horror games are the ones that would mess with your head and cause you to panic. Not from any jump scares, but from atmosphere and psychological elements. Ones that get you all creeped out and disturbed. Those would be more effective horror games than ones that rely on cheap jump scares. And that's probably why I won't play Five Nights at Freddy's. Also, I don't like being scared. Next question comes from, and forgive me if I mispronounce this, Theo Michaud, who asks, what video game crossover do you want to see? There are quite a few. It's like BlazBlue versus Guilty Gear. But one I would really love to see, it's like... Actually, I think I might have answered this question before, but in case I didn't. When I first saw Hyrule Warriors in action, I was like, that's pretty cool. Eventually the idea popped in my head to see a game with a Dynasty Warriors playstyle featuring characters from the Kid Icarus series, specifically Uprising. I mean, the conversations themselves would be comedy gold, just like the original Uprising was. And they got enough characters to pull it off. But originally I had the idea of, like, seeing a crossover with Dynasty Warriors and Mega Man. But that won't happen. Because Capcom has a series with similar combat style already. That being Sengoku Basara. A Mega Man and Sengoku Basara crossover would be incredible. Especially if it could bring together all 7 generations of Mega Man. You got Classic, X, Battle Network, Star Force, Zero, ZX, even Legends. That would be an incredible crossover. Next question comes from Chromostone64, who asks, what's your opinion on Beck's new rival in Mighty No. 9? Okay, recently I saw the trailer for this new potential DLC character. So, its name is Ray. It looks kind of similar to Zero's design from the Mega Man Zero series, with shades of Bass from Battle Network. I gotta say, he looks pretty cool and pretty freaky at the same time. I would really like to see him in action in the actual game at some point. I am looking forward to that. Don't know how he'll be personality-wise, though. Okay, Joshua Antoine asks, have you ever played Splatterhouse? I played the original in the arcades, and I gotta admit, for its time, it was really gory. I mean, it's like, you got guts splattered everywhere, blood, organs, it's like, ugh. Splattering mutants with a 2x4, cutting them apart with a chainsaw. Yeah, I've got a feeling it was cashing in on the whole horror movie craze back in that time. But for its time, it was pretty ambitious. It's like, it was a shock to see a game that gross back in the 80s. Believe me. Even today, it surprises me how a game like that got into arcades. And this was before the days of Mortal Kombat, when everyone was freaking out over all those fatalities and all that realistic violence. It's like, yeah, I'm surprised people didn't get freaked out over Splatterhouse. In fact, they might have. I don't know. Final question comes from Triforce of Zero, who asks, what is your favorite Final Smash? Super Fighting Robot!